Welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at a project titled Apple Mobile App Store Project. This project was downloaded from Kaggle. It's a sample project.
We are on the Kaggle website. This is where the data set for the project was downloaded, and the name of the project is Mobile App Store. And it contains over 7,200 apps, meaning we have over 7,200 rows in this data set. For you to have access to this data set, do well to register with them. Once you sign up with Kaggle, you can have access to so many data sets. There are sample data sets which you can use to sharpen your data analysis skills. So do well to sign up with them and download as many data sets as you want to sharpen your skills. So the data set is being explained here. What the data set is about, the rows that are in the data set, the columns that are in the data set. We can see here it says 7,197 rows and 16 columns. Now the name of each column is explained. Now the ID means app ID, the track name means app name, and so on. Now when you want to download the data, you can press the download, click this download button, this one close to this place, or you click this download button, anyone that works for you. You can click this one. Now, because I clicked this, it said, do I want to download it again? I've already downloaded it, so I cancel. I don't want to download. Now, look at the different columns. You can see sample of the data set here. You can see them. The first column is called ID, which has been explained there, meaning app IDs. Look at the next column, track name. Now look at the number of unique values in this track name. It says 7,195. If we go back up, when it was explaining, it says we have 7,197 rows. Now it's telling us that they are explaining the data set, telling us that we have 7,195 unique value, meaning there are 2 duplicates in this data set. So when you analyze, you have to delete the duplicates. Then this one says 1 unique value, meaning we have only USD all through this column, and so on and so forth. So as many details you want for the data set, you can find it on the Kaggle website. At least can guide you to know what to do. Now ensure once you download the data set, make sure you save it in the same folder where your Python scripts will also be. It's very important. It makes executing it very easy. Then for those that are not planning to download data set from Kaggle, maybe you have your own personal data, whether as a research fellow, you have your own data. Do well to save your data in the same folder with the script that will be analyzing, that will be executing it. That is the Python script, the Python code that will be analyzing the data. Make sure they are saved in the same folder with your data set. And also, if you are to type your data yourself, maybe you have to impute it into Excel yourself, it will be better you save it as a CSV file. Why CSV? Because CSV, it doesn't, as in it's easy for you to find software that are compatible with CSV. So you have software that easily opens CSV file, easily analyze CSV file. It is platform compatible. So it's advisable you save your data in CSV format. If you are imputing it in Excel, save it as a CSV file. And that will make it easy to manipulate the data, to open the data, to access the data, and do anything you want to do with the data. And also take note, the link to these data sets will be put in the description.
The aim of this project is to determine the type of English apps the company should focus on more when developing new apps. From the data set, we have English and non-English apps. So what the company is focusing on is on the English apps.
After downloading the data from Kaggle, or if it's your own personal data which you got, you can do well to open it with WPS Office. You can see it here. I've already installed it. That's why it's showing update. So once you have that app on your phone, it's just like Microsoft Office, where you can open Microsoft Word, PDF. So once you have it, you can use it to open your data set. So once downloaded, here is the data set which I've opened already with the WPS app. You can see the data set here, the ID, track name, the size, and so on. 16 column in total. Now, we can see the different names of the app. You can see track name. We can see we have different names. They are majorly English names. But if you scroll down, look at app 77. And you can see it. That is a Chinese app. This one is also a Chinese app or Japan app. I don't know which country, but it's a non-English app. And this project is focused on English apps. So we'll have to delete the non-English app as we proceed in the project.
The following steps will be followed in analyzing the data. First of all, we'll view the data by opening it and checking what we have on the data. Then we'll clean the data by removing null values and duplicate values. Then we'll remove non-English apps because we are focusing on the English apps. Then we'll separate free apps from non-free apps. After which we'll calculate the percentage of each app gen. We have different gens, we have entertainment, we have games. So we'll calculate for the free and we'll calculate for the non-free. Then we'll also calculate the average rating of each app gen. Then finally, we'll present our results in chart form. Now, let's look at how to delete unnecessary columns, that is columns we don't need for the data analysis.
As you can see in this data set, there's a column without a name. The columns with names are 16 in number, but there's a column without a name. And if you look at the column, you can see there are serial numbers. So because we'll be manipulating this data with a programming language, it's advisable to put a name. And anytime you are naming in programming language, you want to name your file or anything, it's advisable you use underscore. So now, for example, I click on the cell, I click on edit, and I put the name I want. I touch this box, and I type serial underscore number, and I click on this green box. So now, the name of that column is now serial number. So now we have 17 column in total. Always do well to save your work, and that is the save button. So we continue with save. Now, initially, when you load this data, you open it with the WPS. You might try to edit or save and it will say no. You give it time to completely load the data. This is a whole 7,000 plus column on a phone. It's going to take some time to load. Now, there's a better way to work on large data with your phone. How to reduce the data so that you will not need to use the whole data is something I'm going to teach in this video. So it will be nice if you stay till the end of the video, because I will teach you how to reduce your large data to a sizable amount your phone can run easily without taking so much time and resources. So stay tuned on that. So let's continue. Now we've named it as serial number column. Now let's go to our Python code that will be used to analyze this data. Now I separated the code into two. The one that will work for the free app, which is this one, it ends with F. And the one that will work with the non-free app, this one ends with nf.py. So now let's start with the one that will be running for the free apps. So now the first thing we did, we imported pandas as PD. So anywhere you see PD, you know we're talking about pandas. Now, what does pandas do? It puts your data in table format. So now we're going to explain the others later. So now let's look at this line of code. df equals to pd.read underscore csv. Now this apple store.csv is the file that we downloaded from Cargo. That is the name. Now read csv says open it and put it in pd, that is in a table format. Now that new table, now we are naming it df. Now we have our print statement. In your print statement, anything you put in single quotes or double quotes comes out the way it is. Now df.info says, check the details of this table df. Let us know what is there. So now what we'll be looking at is whether there are null values. Now, what are null values? It means in these columns, is there any cell in the column where there is no information at all? So now let's run the code to see what information we have as regards the table. Now our result is out. So we can see check for columns with null value. It has printed it the way it is. It says it's a pandas class. Now the entries, we have 7,197 entries, just as we had in our cargo website, the information on the data set. So when you are counting in Python, you start counting from 0 to the end. And so because we start counting from 0, it says 0 to 7,196, meaning the total is 7,197. Now, data columns, we have total of 17 columns. The first one is serial number column down to the last one, which is VPLIC. Now we are checking, are there null values? So it's telling you we have, for the first column now, it's telling you we have 7,197 non-null, meaning we have 7,197 rows, which is the total number of rows, and there is no null value in all the rows. We can see that it's replicated in every other column. So it means we don't have any null value in this table. And now this data type, integer data type, that is your whole numbers. Float data type, that is your decimal number. Then object, in this situation, we can say is for the string data type, that is the data type, the columns that contains words. For example, the currency column contains USD, that is a word. So although in reality, object data type means it can contain both integer, float, string. That is the reality. But in this case now, we are taking it as what it is containing is a string data type. Now, we've seen that there are no null values in this data. And we already know the length of the data type. Now, this print statement, print number of rows len df, tells you the length of the data. That is how many rows we have in the data. Don't forget, this triple quotes is a comment. So once you have triple quotes, you are commenting multiple line comments. And this is where I ended the triple quote for this one, which I used to comment out this section. So now let me open up this section of the code. You can see I commented out the other part. Now we are executing this code step by step. Now, the next thing we want to do is to delete unnecessary columns. Now you have the option of opening your data set on your laptop in your Excel and just deleting the unnecessary column. You save it and then bring it to run it on your Python programming environment. But here now we are doing everything from the scratch. Now we have columns that we don't need in this data set. Now let's go back to the data set. Now we have the serial number. It's nice to have a serial number so you just know the total number of data you have. We have the ID. We don't need the ID here. We have the track name. Yes, we need the track name. What are we using the track name for? To check, to remove the non-English app. We don't need the size in bytes. We don't need the currency, but we need the price. That's what we use to separate free from non-free. Now, let's look at this rating count. Don't forget, the details of each column name is already mentioned in the cargo website. So you can do well to look at it so you understand what each column name stands for. Now, rating count, TOT, means total rating of each app. We need this in the programming, in the analysis. So then the final column we need is the prime gen, because we're going to group it by gen. We're going to group the apps by gen. Every other column is not needed, so we are going to be deleting them. Now, to delete a column, you use drop. Don't forget, the name of our table is what? df. So we are using this df.drop to delete unnecessary column. Now, look at the names of each column. Now, when you are referring to columns, you have to put the name of the column in quotes, single quotes or double quotes, as you like. Then we separate it with comma. So these are all the columns we don't need. These are all the columns we don't need. After putting them in, then we say axis 1. The meaning of axis 1 is means you are deleting based on column level. If you put axis 0, you are deleting based on row level. So that means that you have to put the names on each row. So now we're dealing with the column. So that is what that one stands for. Then what I did on this line of code, print df info, says, now let's look at the details of the table once again to check whether the columns we deleted have been truly deleted. So we run the code and let's see everything again. So this first line of code is a formal print statement which says total number of column 17. Now look at the new print statement for the info. We still have 7,197 entry. The rows are still there. But now look at the total number of columns, 6. And these are the details of the remaining columns. We have the serial number, ID, track name, price, rating count, and prime gen. Now, we'll be looking at the function that analyzes the data, that is execute df. Don't forget where we are coming from. This is the function that dropped the unnecessary columns. Now we want to analyze the data. And the function that will be analyzing the data from cleaning the data, which is the function clean app store, to determining the percentage of the app gen, to finding the average rating of the gen. They are all in under this function, execute df. Do well to follow me to the end of this video because I'll be showing you how to analyze your data with sample data from the original data. Because when I reduce the data set, because don't forget the number of columns here is 7,100 and something. That is a lot. But you encounter data sets whereby you have hundreds of thousands of columns. Running it on your phone will be straining the phone. Not that it will destroy the phone, but it will be very slow because the processor of the phone cannot be compared to the processor of the laptop. So you will need to reduce your data to a sample size. So along the line on this video, I will teach you how to reduce your data to a sample size whereby you will be able to execute your code on that sample size, using it to test your code to see each aspect of the code to make sure it is giving you the right result you want. When you finish executing your code on that sample data, all you need to do is to just take the code to your laptop and run it on the original data, and you are going to get the correct result you want. So let's continue. We analyze the data, the function execute df. Now, the first function that was called in this execute df is the function that cleans the data set. What does this function do? It removes duplicate, that is the DUP. It removes the non-English app, that is the ENG, and it separates free from non-free app, that is the SEP in the name. So that's why I named it dup eng sept. Now, what this function is accepting is the data frame. Don't forget how data is passed into the function. This df is this df. And what is this df? This df is the result of this df.drop. This df.drop, what did it do? It dropped the unnecessary columns. And this df, in this df.drop, this df is this df here, the original data set. This df is the original data set, Apple Store. So this original data set is passed and we drop the unnecessary columns, and we have a new table in this df with only the columns we need. That table with only the column we need is what is passed into this function. So that table with only the column we need is what is now passed into this function. And what does this function do? It removes duplicates, remove non-English app, and separate free from free. Now, this is just a line of code, which once you finish executing this, it will put the answer in this variable df. So we're going to have a new table with only the columns we need, and the duplicates have been removed, and the non-English app have been removed, and the free from non-free have been separated. That is, they've been separated, and everything has been put in one table that is now put in this variable df. So anytime you call this variable df, it contains the table that has only the column we need, without duplicate, without non-English app and with free separated from non-free. Now, what we are going to do now, we are going to go to the original code that does this function.
In the next video, we'll be looking at how to delete duplicates based on special conditions.